Okay, let's unpack this. Think about it. You're trying to learn something important, right? But the room's just totally packed. You can barely hear. Maybe you don't even have a proper desk. That's kind of the picture we're getting from the sources you shared with us today. We're doing a deep dive into what they call educational infrastructure deficiencies.
Exactly. And our goal here really is to pull out the key takeaways from this material. We want to give you a clear handle on the main problems they identify and also the solutions they suggest.
Right.
And the sources seem to really zero in on two big things. Classrooms that are just way too crowded and a real lack of basic resources in schools.
Okay, let's start with the crowding. The sources, they're not talking about just a couple of extra kids per class.
No, not at all.
They're painting a picture of classrooms, really bursting at the seams.
Yeah.
We're talking class sizes hitting 40, sometimes 50, even up to 60 students regularly.
60, yeah. And the material is very direct about the consequences of that. It really highlights how having that many students crammed into one space, it doesn't just make learning harder, it actively limits it.
Limits it? How so?
Well, think about what the sources imply. Less one-on-one time with the teacher, obviously. Reduced chances for, group work, discussions, experiments, even just managing in the classroom, making sure everyone can see the board or hear properly. It becomes a massive challenge. It fundamentally constrains the whole educational environment.
Right, that makes sense. And that crowding issue seems to lead straight into the second big point from the sources. The inadequate infrastructure and just the lack of basic stuff.
Absolutely. It's not just about the number of bodies in the room. The material details how some schools are missing the absolute essentials.
Essentials like what? We talking fancy tech?
No, not even close. We're talking foundational things. The sources mention schools lacking basic furniture. Like, students might not have a proper desk or even a chair. Yeah, think about trying to write or focus like that. And then there's the complete absence, in some places, of things you'd think are standard. Computer labs, science labs for actual hands-on work, even a library.
No library or science labs. So what does that actually mean for a student in that kind of school?
Well, it means they're starting at a disadvantage, doesn't it? The sources basically show that without access to these tools, the labs, the books, the computers, students just miss out on crucial learning experiences. These things are vital for understanding certain subjects, developing research skills, digital literacy, all essential today. And the material, it views both this lack of resources and the overcrowding as sort of two sides of the same coin, part of these broader educational infrastructure deficiencies.
Okay.
And it also notes, interestingly, that while, lack of labs isn't caused by having too many students, a huge student body definitely puts an immense strain on whatever limited resources the school does have.
Yeah, you can see how those problems would compound each other. And this isn't just theoretical, is it? The sources seem to connect this directly to the real-world challenge of providing, effective education for everyone.
Exactly. It's about equity, ensuring every student, regardless of the school they attend, have the basic tools they need to have a fair shot. It really strikes at the core of opportunity.
Okay, so the sources lay out some pretty serious problems here, big challenges. Do they offer any kind of path forward, a solution?
They do. The material suggests that tackling something on this scale, it really needs a collaborative effort. The proposed solution really centers on building partnerships.
Partnerships. Okay. Between who?
Specifically, the sources call for partnerships between the government and the private sector. The underlying idea seems to be that pooling resources, maybe expertise too, is crucial to actually make a dent in the problem.
Makes sense. And what are these partnerships meant to do, according to the sources? What's the action plan?
Well, their main jobs, as outlined in the material, are basically twofold. First, expand the physical school infrastructure. So, build new schools or classrooms, renovate existing ones, add those missing labs and libraries, more space, better facilities.
Right, tackle the crowding and resource gaps.
Exactly. And second, recruit more teachers.
Yep.
Bring those class sizes down. So it's about boosting both the physical capacity and the human resources.
Okay, so wrapping this up, it's clear from the sources the challenges are significant. We're talking classrooms packed with 60 kids, schools lacking fundamental resources like labs or even furniture, learning is limited, and the suggested way forward, according to this material, involves government and private sector collaboration to build more, build better, and hire more teachers.
That's the gist of it.
But, considering the sheer scale of the problem described in these sources, the overcrowding, the missing basics, the really interesting question they kind of leave you wrestling with is this. How does the practical reality, the nuts and bolts of getting these government-private partnerships running and actually implementing that expansion, how does that really measure up against how massive the need is? What does expanding infrastructure truly look like on the ground when you're starting so far behind? Something to think about.
That brings us to the end of today's episode of LearnWise Voices, where education meets purpose, and knowledge flows from the heart of the nation. Whether you're a teacher lighting the path, a parent guiding from home, or a learner pressing on through the dust and heat, remember this: you are the backbone of the nation's future. Share this episode with someone who believes in education, from a village school under a tree to a city classroom with smart boards. Books Globe showing Europe Africa. Let's keep building a nation where minds are sharp, hearts are full, and dreams are local but limitless. Lightbulb Red Heart. Until next time, stay wise, stay rooted, and keep rising. This is Samson, signing off from LearnWise Educational Solutions, learning with love, leading with purpose.